right, all cell phones off? Cell phones?
Do I have one?
Okay.
Actually, you actually need to say something about the chief and Ed.
Good evening, everyone. We're ready to begin tonight's City of Gardena regular City Council meeting for February the 12th, 2019. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Madam Mayor, all council members are present.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney Whalen, do we have anything to report from a closed session?
Yes, the council unanimously authorized retention of the Wine Reb Law Group to represent some aspects of the city in the California Regional Water Quality Control Board versus the City of Gardena.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to begin with our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Tonight, it will be led by Ms. Brooke Tam from 156th Street Elementary School. Immediately following that, if you'll continue standing, will be led in the invocation by the Reverend Clyde C. Lawrence, who is the lead pastor at I Am Blessed Assurance Baptist Church. So please stand at this time, and Brooke, if you can come forward.
Ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Actually, I'm going to ask everybody to continue standing. Pastor, if you could please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we pray? What an awesome, magnificent, wonderful God that you are. You spoke, and everything came into existence. And so, Master, we approach the throne of grace, giving you the highest praise, which is hallelujah. So we thank you right now for the leaders that you have chosen to lead this great city. Now, Master, we ask that you would bless them as only you know how to bless. Bless in all ways in the mighty name of Jesus of Nazareth. Amen and thank God.
You may be seated. If I could have Brooke come back to the front. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance was led by Miss Brooke Tam, who is in the 4th grade at 156th Street Elementary School. The principal there is Miss Cedra V. Dudley. Brooke is a member of the 156th Street School Student Council. Her Student Council teacher advisor, Mr. Roy Hayashida, is here tonight with her. Where's he at? Right there. Thank you for coming out and supporting Miss Tam tonight. And Brooke, can you tell me who brought you to tonight's meeting?
My mom and my stepdad.
Okay.
And then my 2 sisters.
And your 2 sisters, where are they at? Raise your hands. Are they nearby? Oh, right there? Oh, okay. Thank you guys for bringing Brooke out tonight. Brooke, is there anything you'd like to say?
I'm 9 years old, and this is my first year on student council. Our student council promotes school activities and organizes toy drives and food drives. Thank you for inviting me tonight. I am proud to represent 156th Street Elementary.
All right. Well, thank you. Wow, you are so well prepared tonight. Thank you. You did a great job tonight leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Good luck on what you're going to continue doing on your student council, and I look forward to you coming back in the future. So thank you again. Everyone, please give a round of applause again. So if I could have Reverend Lawrence please come back to the front as well. So tonight's invocation was led by the Reverend Clyde C. Lawrence, who is the head pastor at I Am Blessed Assurance Baptist Church, which meets on the premises of the Church of the Holy Communion. And this is located at 1160 West 141st Street in Gardena. Pastor Clyde Lawrence was born and raised in Baytown, Texas, which is outside of Houston. He came to California in 1963, just over 56 years ago, and settled in Compton, California. He attended and graduated from Compton High School, Senior High School, followed by earning an associate's degree from Compton College. In 1967, he spent a year at Morehouse College in Atlanta, where he was forever impacted and influenced to follow a call to the ministry by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Pastor Lawrence then pursued formal seminary education at Los Angeles Bible College, after which he transferred to Biola University in La Mirada, California, where he studied organizational leadership. From 1995 to the early 2000s, he served as ministerial assistant to the pastor Percy Hill at Cochran Baptist Church in Los Angeles. In 2005, he was ordained and founded I Am Blessed Assurance Baptist Church in Gardena, where he is the head pastor and preaches every Sunday at 1 p.m. worship service. Reverend Lawrence has 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. He is also a business owner and an entrepreneur. Pastor, would you like to say anything?
Just that it's not my first time here, and I admire the council. I admire Gardena. It's a well-run city, well-organized, and any response is needed, Gardena's there to do it. It's clean, it's neat, and it's a friendly city. I enjoy being here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Thank you again for leading us in prayer tonight. Okay, next we have a presentation tonight. As always, our new custom is to honor a military veteran at each of our council meetings. So tonight we're going to honor Mr. Jae Soo No, who was selected by Councilmember Kaskanian. Before I read his bio, Councilmember Kaskanian, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Noy. I do really appreciate everything you have done to protect us, to serve our country here, and to sacrifice your time and to be, basically to serve the country. So I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so, sir, if you could please come forward as I begin to read your bio here. So Mr. No has been a resident of Gardena since November of 1993. He served with the U.S. Army in active service from March 1977 to September 1992, and in the reserve from May 1993 to October 2002. His record of service includes basic training and advanced individual training, Fort Knox, Kentucky, March of 1977. 4th Squadron, 7th Cavalry, 2nd Infantry Division, Camp Rice, Korea, in November of 1977. 2nd Squad, 6th Cavalry, Fort Knox, Kentucky, in November of 1978. 2nd Battalion, 70th Armor, 2nd Infantry Division, Camp Casey, Korea, December of 1979. 3rd Battalion, 70th Armor, 5th Infantry Division, Fort Polk, Louisiana, and that was in December of 1980. 3rd Squadron, 7th Cavalry, 3rd Infantry Division, Swinford, Germany, May of 1982. 2nd Battalion, 64th Armor, 3rd Infantry Division, Swinford, Germany, March 1985. 2nd Battalion School, U.S. Army Ordnance Center, Fort Knox, Kentucky, September 1985. U.S. Warrant Officer Career Center, Fort Knox, Kentucky, January 1988. The 703rd Main Support Battalion, 31D, Swinford, Germany, November 1988. 2nd Infantry Division, Material Management Center, Korea, December 1991. 304th Material Management Center, 1st Corps, Santa Monica, in May of 1993. Retired Reserve in October 2002. His deployment included Desert Storm in 1991, and that was a major battle campaign in which you participated in. Mr. Noy was honorably discharged. He held the rank of Chief Warrant Officer 3. For his exemplary military service, Jae Suk No was awarded the following: Army Service Ribbon, He received 3 Overseas Service Ribbons, National Defense Service Medal, Army Commendation Medal. He received 2 Non-Commissioned Officer Professional Development ribbons. He received 2 Army Achievement Medals, Driver's Mechanic Badge, Rifle M16 Qualification Badge as an expert, Hand Grenade Qualifications Badge as a sharpshooter, and 3 Army Good Conduct Medals. So today I am happy to present to you our military veteran, Mr. Jae Suk No. So as Councilmember Kaskanian is bringing down this special medal here, one of the other things in tonight's recognition, Mr. Noor will receive, of course, the special medal that we had designed specifically for veterans who are receiving this award. Also, he'll get complimentary pictures and a DVD of tonight's meeting, and his picture will be displayed on the electronic sign at the corner of Redondo Beach Boulevard and Western. And before you speak, we also have one more award that was sent to us, and I'll let Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Noth, you are being recognized by the Assembly, a California legislator from Elmer Suchi, and we thank you for your continued service for all the years that you dedicated to our country and serving to make it a safe place. And the certificate reads, Jae Suk No, United States Army, in recognition and celebration of your dedication and service to the United States of America, and with sincere appreciation for your selfless acts of courage, congratulations, Assembly Member Elmer Suchi, 66th District, 12 February 2019. Congratulations.
All right. If you'd like to say anything, you have the opportunity now.
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm fully qualified to accept this appreciation and recognition from the City Council and people of Gardena, but I would like to share that with fellow veterans in the United States who serve this country, and also I owe so much to this country for over 40 years. This country offered me a country that I can call my home, and also 25 years of my home in Gardena. And I appreciate your recognition. I don't think I deserved it, but I did it because I owe it to country. Nothing more, nothing less, and this is just overwhelming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next we have a certificate of recognition. This person is not here tonight, but she's probably watching on YouTube right now. But I wanted to go ahead and present this certificate to her. This is a certificate of recognition being presented to Ms. Jessica Randall. And this is an official acknowledgement and a genuine appreciation for exemplary dedication as a dedicated community leader and a service member of the Senior Citizens Commission. So we, the mayor and the members of the City Council of Gardena, deem it a distinct honor and pleasure to for her efforts and extend our very best wishes and good health and happiness as she retires from the Senior Citizens Commission. And it's for Ms. Jessica Randall. She's not here tonight, but if you're watching at home, this is your certificate, and we will get it to you at a later time. So thank you for your service on the Senior Citizens Commission. And next, we have another recognition here tonight. This is to our very own Gardena Explorers. If you guys would like to come forward, you can. I have a very long bio to read, so by the time all you guys come forward, I should be finished. So tonight's recognition states, it is the City Council's honor to recognize members of the Police Explorers Post 142. The Explorers Volunteer Program is one that gives support services to the police department and to the community. Its mission is to teach the law enforcement profession to individuals through hands-on experience, to instill leadership skills and self-discipline, which are vital for positive development, and to prepare participants for future career and a proactive, positive life. Post 142 currently has 24 active explorers and 12 recruits who are high school and college students ranging in age from 14 to 20. Their community service has included, to name only a few examples, assist with the annual city events like National Night Out, Heritage Festival, and Jazz Festival. Assist Gardena PD's SWAT team during their training events. Assist with traffic control for annual City of Gardena parades, UCLA football games, Rose Bowl concert, and various marathons. Post members have competed for many years in law enforcement scenarios-based competitions and have received numerous first-place awards. Awards won most recently are the 2018 First Place Overall Pasadena Explorer Competition. Of note, they also won first place overall in 2013, 14, and 15. Also, 2018 First Place Officer Down Award, which was also awarded in 2017 to the Explorers. The Gardena Police Explorer Program has molded its participants into exceptional citizens and students, and police officers. Many have gone on to attend universities such as CSU Long Beach, CSU Dominguez, CSU Fullerton, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, UC Irvine, UCLA, and Johns Hopkins University. The members of the Post 142 are led by lead advisor Detective Patrick Goodpaster, Detective Octavio Saldana, and 4 associate police explorer advisors. So it is my pleasure in congratulating you on your most recent success in the Explorer competition and your longtime service to the community. Congratulations. But hold on, don't start clapping yet. I was just handed this article here that I just wanted to read from our secretary. And it states, on Friday, January 18th, the Gardena Police Department explorers and advisors traveled to Chandler, Arizona for the annual Explorers Tactical Competition. Over 50 police agencies from around the country participated in this weekend's long competition. This highly anticipated event was created to simulate real-life SWAT-based scenarios, such as crisis negotiation and vehicle assaults. It puts teamwork, problem-solving skills, and working well under pressure abilities to the ultimate test. Explorers are asked to take on the role of police officers in order to solve the scenarios thrown at them. They are scored based on officer safety techniques, timing, strategies, and communication. The physical portion of the competition includes a 3-mile run, an obstacle course, and a SWAT fitness challenge. The Gardena Police Explorers team brought home 11 trophies. Congratulations. So we also have a certificate from our Assembly Member Al Marasucci. I'll let you read that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Congratulations. You guys make us all proud. There are a couple of guys in this room that started out where you started out, and you are our future. So this is from the Assembly of California Legislature. Certificate of Recognition to Explorer Post 142, Gardena Police Department. In recognition and celebration of your exemplary performance in law enforcement scenario-based competitions and for the representing the city of Gardena, congratulations, signed Al Marasucci, Assembly Member of the 66th District, 12 February 2019. Congratulations.
And I don't know if there's a representative, one of you want to say something, or if the advisor wants to say anything. Hold on one second. We're going to hit that little button there for you.
On behalf of Post 142 and myself, we would like to thank the foundation of the City Council and our Chief of Police, Thomas King, for this. We would not have done it without you guys, and we are very grateful for everything you guys have done for us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Great job, guys.
Mayor, if I could just add one comment. I think many of you know that Chief Kang was an explorer and is a strong supporter of this program. And we've had the ability to watch this program for well over 30 years. And I can tell you it is probably the best run Explore program in this region. And I want to really thank not only Chief Kang for his continued support, but Officer Goodpaster, Officer Bazan here, and all the advisors. They do an amazing job with these young men and women. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
We expect more first place next year.
The pressure's on. Okay, next we have a proclamation here. Okay, to be proclaimed. Black History Month, February 2019. Black History Month is observed nationwide during February each year to recognize the past achievements and current status of African Americans in our country, and it coincides with the birthday of the great Black leader Frederick Douglass on February 14th, and the birthday of U.S. President Abraham Lincoln on February 12th. The observance was officially established as Black History Month in February 1976. The Gardena Holly Park Youth Affairs Alliance initiated the observance of Black History Month in our community as part of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday commemorative activities, in the belief that the role of history in the life of its people is to give them a kind of measurement as to where they have been and where they are now. And if they understand history correctly, they will have some definition of what they must become. Gardena's annual activities during February 2019 will include an Afternoon in the Park celebration featuring the Instagram chefs, college fair, food trucks, resource booths, retail booths, kids area, live entertainment, and more on Saturday, February 23rd at Raleigh Park from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This event will provide the community with an opportunity to reflect on the strengths of Black heritage and family lifestyle, as well as providing African American citizens with a positive sense of racial identity. So therefore, I, Tasha Serta, Mayor of the City of Gardena, proclaim February 2019 to be Black History Month in the City of Gardena and urge the citizens of our multicultural community to take part in activities planned for our annual Black History Month observance. Okay, next we're going to move on to appointments. Does any member of the council have any appointments to be made to any commissions, committees, boards, or council? If not, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. Does any member of the council have any items that they would like to discuss separately? Councilmember Henderson?
Yes, item 5D5. Just a quick question.
Do you want to pull it off and discuss it separately, or?
Actually, it's just a question. We don't have to pull it off. Question for you, Mr. City Manager, in regards to Tyler Technologies for the Eden System maintenance. Do we have the Parks and Rec module for Eden Systems?
No, we do not. The Eden system is sort of our legacy system. Within the next year to 18 months, we're going to be going out to an RFP to either replace or upgrade the Eden system. It served us well for a number of years, but certainly it's at the end of its life.
It's definitely at the end of its life. So will we just use it to replace our financials, or we're looking to incorporate the other functions of whatever the new enterprise software?
Yeah, Eden has a number of different modules. One, finance is the one that's most commonly associated with it, but there's an HR module. There's actually a risk management module. There's a lot of different modules. The more modules you buy, the more expensive it is, of course. But we have started the discussion about replacing the system. The ERP system is, it's a significant investment, and it takes a long time to transition over, so it would definitely probably be a year to 18-month program.
But we will include, take that back, we will consider inclusion of the other functions if it makes sense for us.
Yes, as we look at what we're doing with technology in this city. We're taking a look at what is the best fit for whatever it is that we're trying to do. So, for example, you mentioned Parks and Rec. One of the great needs that we have with Park and Rec is the scheduling of facilities, et cetera. We have a very archaic paper-based system where taking advantage of an online reservation system is just one thing that will greatly enhance our customer service to our community.
Thank you for that. That's all I had, Madam Mayor. I just was curious about that.
Okay, if there are no other concerns, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
So moved.
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next, we're going to move on to Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. There's one item on there, item number 7A1. Does any member of the council wish to call for a review or an appeal of this item? Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, do we have any representative here today regarding this item? Because I do have a couple questions concerning safety issues.
Councilman Cascini, I'm not aware of any of the applicants being here, but if there is an applicant for the project at 15019 Western Avenue, can you please identify yourself in the audience? There is none. If you have questions, I possibly could try to answer them for you, Councilman
Okay,
Cascini.
yes, I do have a question. I don't want to delay the project or the permits, but it's a safety concern. I just want to know where the playground is going to be located on the facility, and I would like to know if there is any safety barriers where the playground is going to be, because if we go back last year, few years back, there was a collision right on that intersection, northeast corner, southeast corner, and they are on the northwest corner. So it's a heavy traveled traffic area. So I just want to know, even though they have a fence, iron fence.
Actually, that question was raised at the Planning Commission, and they have two fences, an exterior fence and then.
So it'll be safe. All right, thank you. I was just concerned because we have fatalities too on that intersection, so.
Okay, well, if there is nothing else, then we can go ahead and receive and file this item here. Next, we're going to move on to oral communications. Tonight, we have four speakers tonight, and I want to remind all of our speakers that you are limited to 3 minutes for your remarks unless extended by myself. This little box right here will alert you to your time. When the yellow light comes on, it will let you know that your 2 minutes are up. When the red light comes on, it will let you know that your 3 minutes are up. And at that time, if you could just finish your statement and stop, we would appreciate that. So I appreciate your cooperation in advance on that. The first speaker tonight is Janine Davies, and then after that, it will be
Excuse me, Mayor Serta.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was for item 8.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
That
You're
was
right.
only if you needed to.
That's correct.
Have
I'm
any
sorry.
questions. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Our first speaker was Steve Trinidad. Is that Stacy? Okay, Stacy Alfaro.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, city staff, and everyone present, as well as the ones that are watching at home. My name is Stacy Trinidad Alfaro, and I am the field representative for the city of Gardena from the office of Assemblymember Almudra Suchi. On behalf of the Assembly member, I would like to congratulate the individuals and the organization honored and recognized in tonight's meeting. Thank you for your contributions and dedication to serve and represent the city of Gardena. I would also like to announce that the member will be hosting a community coffee on March 2nd, 2019 at 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. in the City Council chamber. We welcome you to come and enjoy a cup of coffee and share your thoughts regarding the state and legislature issues that affect the community. Also find out what's happening in the district and what services can be provided to you. There are also other upcoming events that the Assembly member is hosting, and you are welcome to visit his website if you would like information in regards to that. I would also like to, now I would like to give you a legislative update on the bills the Assembly member is introduced. He has introduced AB 39, which is increasing education funding from K to 12. He has also introduced AB 245, which is the Aerospace Commission, AB 308 for reducing taxes for small businesses. Assemblymember Mudasuchi is working to possibly introduce a couple more bills, and the deadline is February 22nd. As always, we are glad to hear any bill ideas you or the citizens of Gardena might have that will allow us to continue to achieve quality of life. Please do not hesitate to contact our office if we may be of service to you in any state issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Perry Johnson.
Honorable Mayor, members of the Gardena Senate Council, I've handout for you about Senate Bill number 50. This was just introduced. It's another infringement upon the city's ability to control planning, zoning, and housing development in our city limits. I'm here to urge the City Council to go on record opposing this bill. I recommend that you ask the city attorney to draft a letter opposing this bill for approval at the next City Council meetings. The last page that you have is representatives and assemblymen and senators who I recommend sending it to. This is another way the state legislature is infringing upon cities' rights to control housing, planning, and zoning. I'd like to read only a small section. It's on page 1. At the very bottom, it's highlighted on your copy. The bill would require that residential development eligible for an equitable communities incentive receive waivers from maximum controls on density and automobile parking. That's waivers from your regulation, our regulations. Requirements greater than half a parking spot per unit. In other words, they want a waiver. They want only a half a parking spot per unit for these apartment houses. And additionally, up to 3 additional incentives or concessions under the density bonus law. Specifically, additional waivers from Gardena law if the residential development is located within a half a mile or a quarter mile radius of a major transit stop as defined. You notice they use the word waiver. That means to override our zoning and push their idea of what Gardena should look like. I think you should oppose this. I encourage you to ask the city manager to write a letter opposing this and send it to our representatives in Sacramento. Thank you for your time.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Okay, go ahead.
I have a question for Mr. Johnson. Now, does this pertain to apartments or homes, or both?
I believe it only applies to apartments because they mention in here very low and low income, and I'm almost positive it's apartments.
Thank you.
Okay. This is the exact, at the top of the page you can see the website where I got this information, so you can go verify it. I reformatted it so it's easier to read because I had very difficulty reading it, but I encourage you to read it and get with your city attorney. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Ms. Kimberly Haddon.
Good evening, Mayor Serta, City Council, and residents of Gardena. My name is Kimberly Haddon, board member at Sarah High School, and I am pleased to present these updates to you. Become a Cavalier. We're having our high school placement test on Saturday, February 23rd at 9 a.m. And as a Catholic high school, we have opportunities for raising money for our school. So we have our classic car show, which will be on April 27th at 10 a.m. And we are having our annual Sarah Cavalier Golf Classic on April 12th at 1 p.m. And I will share information with the City Council regarding the golf tournament or classic. And congratulations to Robert Woods, Sarah alum, number 10 for the Los Angeles Rams NFC champions. He played on February 3rd with his teammates. Didn't quite win, but we definitely congratulate him in their bid for the NFL Super Bowl championship. Those are the news and updates from Sarah High School. And on behalf of our principal, Jeff Guzman, peace and blessings to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Basil Hewitt.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight. I'm with the Sanitation Districts of Los Angeles County. I'm a civil engineer. We're the agency no one pays attention to. We've been around since 1923, and every day we take about 400 million gallons of sewage throughout LA County and from its 78 cities, and we clean it up in 12 hours to near drinking water levels. And we do that at an incredible rate. Our rates are some of the lowest in the country, and Gardena is one of the cities we serve, and the mayor sits on our board of directors. Our rates are so low that a home in Gardena pays about $200 per year for sewage service. You move that home to the city of LA, you pay $400 a year. You move that same home to Orange County, $500 a year. Well, I'm here on behalf of 1,000 of my fellow co-workers. We have about 1,500 employees. And the management and sanitation districts are attempting to cut our wages, our salaries. And this has been a 2-year labor impasse. And it's having a disastrous effect on the service we provide you. We're having a hard time retaining engineers. We're about 30 engineers short that we cannot get replacements for because people see the atmosphere that's at the sanitation district. And if you're coming out of a school like Berkeley, UCLA, you're thinking, there are better opportunities in terms of salary-wise. So I'm here for your support as a board member, as the people that run the sanitation districts, to break this impasse, to make sure we don't lose this high quality of service. We have a lot of projects that aren't moving as quickly as possible because we can't retain or hire the folks that we need to do that work. I had a sample support letter, some facts on the situation. We're usually in the background since 1923. We've been around and we've done the work for 78 and 88 cities. We serve 5.6 million people, including the folks of Gardena. And this is a very unusual and unnecessary situation since our agency is financially strong. We have a AAA bond rating, and I was in our financial management department for a long time, so I know we're as good as they come financially. This is just unnecessary. Well, so I'm just looking for your support. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Excuse me, sir. You're saying with regards to having letters of support, who do we write to?
Our chief engineer, general manager, but it's also to bring awareness to the issue that's in the building. We're getting one side of the story in terms of what's going on, and I'm here on behalf of 2/3 of the employees. I've been there 31 years, and I've never seen anything like this. And I'm very proud of the work we do. I was recruited out of Princeton and Rutgers and New Jersey, and we're not getting. We run on the intellect, the creativity. Right now, we're taking food waste and we're turning it into energy. Those ideas don't just fall off the back of the truck.
Okay, for the sake of time, could you give us the name of the person when you get a chance? Not right now, but no. Oh, Grace Hyde. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next we're going to move on to our departmental items. First item is item number 8A1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A1 is approval of a contract for city auditing services with the Poon Group LLP for fiscal years 2018 and 2019 through 2022-2023. The Poon Group, who has recently been here at the City Council providing its audit, has provided audited services for the city since 2012 and has developed an understanding of the city's operations. The Poon Group is responsible to staff requests and has provided excellent auditing services during the term of previous contracts. The proposed contract extension covers fiscal years 18-19 through fiscal years 22-23, and there is no increase quoted for the 18-19 fiscal year. Fiscal year 19 through 20 and fiscal years 22 to 23 show a reasonable increase of 2% per contract year. Auditing services are included in the current year budget and are standard expenditures in each budget cycle. The general impact is $312,000 from the general fund. The enterprise is $44,234. The general family child care is $31,822. And the total expenditure is $388,023. What is required is for the City Council to approve a 5-year contract.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this item? No? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract with the Poon Group?
So moved.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A2. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A2 is an approval of contract with Hinderleader, Delamas and Associates, or HDL for short, companies for city sales and use tax services. City utilizes contractual services for tax reporting, monitoring, and analysis to identify calculations, underreporting, and non-reporting of tax revenue to the tax within the city's businesses in order to generate additional revenue in the city. It also helps the city staff prepare its annual budgets with predicting general fund and other tax revenue. HDL proposes a fee of 15%, which is lower than the previous contract, which charged 25% of all new sales and use tax revenue received by the city. That is tax revenue that they identify and bring to the city. Audit fees are billed only after the completion of the audit, submittal of corrections to the CTDFA, and receipt upon revenues by the client, which is us. 100% of all new revenues generated by HDL flows to the city after the completion of 8 quarters. The proposed fee for sales and use tax management services is $650 per month and includes access to the city sales tax database through HDL's web-based software and quarterly meetings with one of the HDL principals. Today we had a kickoff meeting with HDL in preparing for this contract, and the level of service and online access to our own data is a significant improvement from the previous provider. In addition, we found that the reports are more comprehensive, easier to use, and allow us to have the ability to forecast revenues on a quarterly basis much more effectively. Thus, we're able to provide more detailed information to our Budget Finance Committee when they meet. Well, the impact of the general fund is approximately $7,800, and what is required is for the City Council to approve the 5-year contract.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I got like 3 questions, Mr. City Manager, in regards to this. For the 5-year contract, did we do a solicitation for other folks to participate in this services?
We evaluated their services compared to our, this is our current provider. They have an extremely good record. They have approximately 51 of the 57 counties in California under contract, and what I understand, 341 cities under contract. So they're on top of their game in terms of this type of service. In addition, I forgot to mention that we did engage HDL for our economic development assessments and gap analysis, and they did an exceptional job, as noted by the presentation to the City Council.
Thank you for that, and I do agree HDL does good work. So let me ask the second couple of questions. Since the kickoff meeting happened today, has the discussion been around, you know, how will we get the frequent reports? How frequent will the frequent reports be given to city officials? And as far as letting our community know what some of the data is, will it be either a newsletter or email, or can we start viewing that data online?
Both excellent questions. One of the interesting things that HDL does, as soon as that their information is received from the CDTFA, they do a quick analysis and provide the city access through a web portal of the immediate report analysis. After they do a deeper dive, then they provide more in-depth access to city staff. In addition to that, every quarterly meeting will include a newsletter of current trends that is going to be provided to the city electronically, and it's going to be posted on our website, as well as the city council will have access to it. So much more transparency and increased information.
Thank you for that. One last question. Do we have the latitude to expand their scope of work to help us start working on how we're going to handle the whole cannabis thing? Because they also have an arm of their organization that helps cities figure out how they're going to deal with the cannabis issue. Can we, would that be a separate scope of work, or could we expand this one?
Well, that would be a separate scope of work. At this point, the policy decision from the City Council is not to consider any kind of commercial cannabis regulation. So until such time that the Council changes the policy, then we would have to re-engage HDL for the additional services.
Thank you. That was it.
Just one other comment. We did initially, several years ago, engage HDL for a presentation on cannabis and the pros and cons to that.
That was something they offered. Okay, I'll look for it. It's down here. Okay, are there any other questions or comments at this time? If not, can I get a motion to approve the contract with HDL companies for the city sales and use tax services?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Cascanian and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8C1.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8C1 is amending ordinance number 1802, which amends sections 1.20.010 and 1.20.2020 of the Gardena Municipal Code related to administrative fines for violations related to illegal cultivation of cannabis, which was formally introduced by Mayor Pro Tem Rodney Tanaka on January 22nd, 2019. AB 2164 allows cities to immediately impose administrative fees or penalties for violations of building, zoning, and health and safety requirements. Cultivation of cannabis is prohibited in Gardena, and ordinance number 1802 implements AB 2164 by authorizing immediate imposition of fines for such violations. There is no fiscal impact. What is required is to adopt ordinance 1802.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to this ordinance, just a couple questions. How large is the fine for those? Have we got an ordinance for that?
That would depend on the scope of the violation. The minimum base fine, I think, is $500, and it can go up from there.
And then, so that's good. And then in regards to the operative word, reasonable period of time. So let's say if we do catch somebody in violation, you know, what's the demarcation of this is a major violation versus a minor violation? How long you get to rectify the situation?
Well, it all depends on what they're doing, but generally speaking, they're issued a notice of violation first with a time to comply. In the case of this situation, we do not allow cultivation within our city, so they have to comply. It's an illegal operation to begin with, but let's say it's not necessarily related to cultivation, but they are beginning to do something, but they haven't cultivated, and there's a health and safety violation. The first process is to enter a notice of violation with a predetermined date to take care of the correction.
Thank you.
Yeah. The new law only applies to cultivation.
Okay, I have a question in regards to this because I didn't quite understand this portion. Does this relate to a business like a warehouse that's trying to cultivate, or is this to like somebody at home who decides they want to turn their third bedroom into a cultivation area? I didn't quite, or does it apply to both?
Both. In all cultivation.
Anything more than a person growing 6 plants or more, where it appears like they're going to start manufacturing or selling this, correct? Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. The second question is, as I was reading down further, it went on to mention that, let's just say a landlord finds out, or it gave instances of a landlord, and it maybe is not aware that their tenant is doing this sort of thing. Is it suggested that maybe landlords now should put something in their legal agreements that state something like, if we find out you're selling, or cultivating cannabis or something like that? I mean, because that's the way this kind of inferred as I was reading further, that might be to their best interest to do something like that?
That's correct. One of the things is that rental owners or agents can provide evidence of that by inserting language into the rental agreements that prohibits the cultivation of cannabis. Okay. So that would be, a best practice for those landlords.
Okay.
To demonstrate, that they clearly have established that the cultivation, they prohibits cultivation of cannabis.
And then that kind of gets them off the hook that in the event it's discovered, I mean, I'm just being facetious here, that in the event it's discovered, then at least they were to say that, hey, in our good faith, we did stipulate this to our tenants. Yeah.
Essentially, that's what it would do. I mean, obviously, you can't take these things in abstract. It has to look at the totality of the circumstances in terms of someone puts that in a rental agreement, but they have full knowledge that's going on, but they're just doing that to protect themselves. That's not going to carry much weight. But in good faith, if they put that in there, it's certainly going to carry more weight, knowing that they had no other involvement in knowledge of that operation occurring.
Okay. You had a question, Council Member?
With regards to the California state law where you're allowed to have, was it 4 or 6?
6.
6. Is that's also illegal in Gardena, correct?
Well, go ahead.
Yes, you can have 6 plants in your home. We do require a permit for that.
Yeah, your microphone was off, so you could.
You can have your 6 plants, but you still have to get a permit for the cultivation.
Okay, thank you.
That's the local imposed requirement.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments at this time, can I get a motion to adopt ordinance number 1802?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8C2. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8C2 is a purchase of a property located at 16004 South Harvard Boulevard, which is adjacent to our current Prim Pool facility. G3 Urban, a local developer, has entered into escrow to acquire a 4-unit apartment building on a 11,023 square foot lot. G3 Urban is no longer interested in completing the purchase and has offered the signed rights to purchase the property to the City of Gardena. The parcel is located to the Prim Pool, and if acquired, would provide the city with an opportunity to provide additional recreation facilities and the ability to redo our current pool. The existing escrow calls for a $1.2 million purchase price and for the property to be delivered free of current occupants, with $20,000 of the purchase price to be used to assist tenants in relocating. The seller has agreed to modify the existing purchase and sale agreement to provide a $20,000 against the purchase price and to relieve the seller of the obligation to relocate the tenants. Relocating costs and benefits are estimated to be as much as $140,000. Purchase of the property is exempt from the California Environmental Equality Act pursuant to sections 156061B3 in that the acquisition itself without any future plans will not have an effect on the environment. Any future use of the property will require environmental review. The current property is adjacent to the Prim Pool area to the west. current prim pool is under a state of significant disrepair and requires substantial rehabilitation, including most likely replacement of the entire pool and expansion. If that were to take place, it is advantageous to the city to acquire the adjacent property to design more of an aquatic center feel, and we are currently working with Rec and Human Services staff to have the potential to add additional services adjacent to the pool area. As many of the city council members know, our Alzheimer's clinic is located outside the city grounds. We rent space at a church. If possible, some kind of recreational program or other service program like that could be co-located next to the prim pool on that property. The expense amount would be $1,320,000, which would be paid for by park and lieu fees. What's required is the council to approve the purchase at 16400 South Harvard Boulevard.
Okay, does any member of the council have any questions or comments at this time?
I have a quick comment.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When the city manager talks about our Alzheimer's people in a facility outside of our city, where we have year after year struggled to actually try to keep that place open. I'm not sure how many people are actually benefiting from it right now, but it used to be a lot. So I'm assuming we've got about 25 maybe people there. But to take this property and put a facility next to the pool and allow our Alzheimer's people to have a new place to come and spend their time is well worth it. And I think with our cigar and wine festival, all this money that we raise will offset to help those people in need without having them to go to a park or someplace that's not conducive to Alzheimer's people. So that was just, I'm all for this, so that's just my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Just of note, the seller is here tonight, Ms. Janine Davies. Just in case anybody had any questions for her. Just of note here. I do have one question. I mean, I'm all for the project, but in paragraph number 3, where it states state law requires the displacement of tenants and payment to them, I was under the impression because Gardena is not under rent control that we don't have, or I'm sorry, the owner of the property does not have to pay. They just have to give a 2-month notice. But now I'm looking at this where it says state law requires this.
I'll let Peter answer this, but because a government agency is acquiring the property, there are certain restrictions that we have to take on, certain things that we have to do that we cannot pass on to the previous owner.
I see.
Yes, it's the State Real Property Acquisition and Relocation Act requires whenever the city acquires a property for public use that it pay relocation benefits and provide relocation assistance. And it's quite generous in terms of.
Yes, it is.
That's why that big number is in that memo. But
okay.
yeah, it is a legal requirement.
Okay, I see. Well, thank you for that. If there are no other questions here, can I get a motion to approve the purchase of 16004 South Harvard Boulevard?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes.
Mayor, if I could just add, this is the first purchase and adding of additional recreational space in Gardena in quite some time. So it's good that, as we know, the city's built out and our recreational facilities are maxed out. Hopefully this will be the first of many other opportunities to expand our recreational programs and facilities to our community.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Ms. Davies, for coming out tonight, just in case we had any questions for you. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to our next item, which is item number 8D1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, ordinance number 1801 regarding property owners' responsibilities to maintain trees, shrubs, and sidewalks in a non-hazardous condition, which was introduced by Councilman Dan Medina at the January 22nd, 2019 council meeting. The city is frequently sued for damage caused by sidewalk, trip and fall injuries, and the city is liable for such injuries when it knew or should have known that a dangerous condition existed. Sidewalk displacements caused by tree roots is the most common cause of these accidents. Streets and Highways Code section number 5610 provide that the property owners adjacent to the sidewalk is required to maintain the sidewalk in a condition that will not endanger persons or property. However, property owners is not held liable for injuries caused by a failure to do so. When dangerous conditions is caused by trees on the owner's property, property owners should be wholly responsible or share responsibility for the city for the resulting damages. Ordinance number 1801 places responsibility and liability on the property owner adjacent to these dangerous sidewalks, except in those cases where the dangerous condition is caused by our own city streets. The fiscal impact is hopefully the potential reduction of tort liability in an unpredictable amount, and was required to adopt ordinance number 1801.
Thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Real quick, Mr. City Manager, regards, I think I thought of a possible solution for this because a lot of people are not sure where the property lines are. If we could do a community training, like a forum with diagrams so people can see this is your house, this is where your liability would end, this is where the city's liability would begin, in an effort so folks can kind of get an understanding of that issue. And then could we also look into, because a lot of the homeowners are, a lot of them are seniors, could we look into the possibility of our community development block grant, if it's available, to work on some of that relief or something like that if we identify trees that probably could just be taken out now versus putting that burden on the owner?
Yeah, I'll handle the first. The first question is public education certainly will be part of this process. I would, rather than having a forum, if the council would prefer, we could start with some informal communication relative to our website. We could add it in the Live, Work, Play, et cetera. I mean, if we have an additional need, we could add a forum on that. Certainly, we want to encourage anyone who has specific questions regarding this to contact our General Services Department, and Joseph Cruz or his principal engineer would be more happy to explain that and provide that detailed information on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. Relative to the second, in terms of CDBG funds, the city does not receive a lot of money for CDBG. We do spend some CDBG money for access ramps at handicap access ramps at intersections, et cetera. That money has not been used for tree trimming, et cetera. That is on a different program funded by the general fund and or to some degree gas tax money. The City Council recently increased by $100,000 our tree trimming contract to get much more aggressive on the tree trimming contract and removal of trees. So that has had some impact in moving forward. We're going to continue with our master tree plan to be a little more aggressive with the removal of those dying or diseased trees and a replacement of sidewalks that have been lifted as a result of the different types of trees here that are no longer favorable for the parkways. We try to select trees that don't cause that kind of infrastructure damage, and every time we remove a tree that, for example, ficus is the one everyone points to, and replace it with a tree that's not as the roots don't cause as much damage, we're certainly saving infrastructure costs.
Right. So just want to follow up on that. So it'd probably be in the best interest of the homeowner, if they're not sure but the sidewalk is broken in front of their home, to just call General Services, and then we can kind of determine, because it will vary by thing, but also put that on the website as far as you can do a quick assessment of, this is my house, this is the grass, this is the sidewalk, this is the other grass, this is the street, this is your responsibility, this is the city's responsibility.
Yes, certainly, and that we will more than happy send our crews out there to take a look at it. What is the cause of the damage? Is it a city tree? Is it a tree on private property? Those kind of things.
Okay, next, I believe, Councilmember Henderson, and then Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka. What did I say? Oh. You know who I meant, go.
Yes. Yeah.
They look
Yeah,
alike,
exactly.
I know.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, I need a clarification to the people that they're watching us today, because some people called me and they asked me this question. Property owner responsibility to maintain the trees. Is this means that the property owner will trim, cut the trees? And if that's the case,
The trees that are on their property, they are required to cut and maintain. The trees that are in the parkways, which are city trees, is the city's responsibility to trim and maintain.
So the trees that they are on the parkways, it belongs to the city. But legally, that's part of the property, isn't it, Mr. City Manager?
And state law makes them responsible for those trees also, but we have ordinances which say they can't touch those trees without a permit from us. So state law also says that they aren't going to be responsible in a tort situation. In other words, somebody trips and falls, they're not going to be responsible for the damage to the sidewalk, even though state law requires that they repair that sidewalk.
Okay, so basically, the tree that is on my property behind the fence, let's say behind the sidewalk, and if it caused the damage to the sidewalk, then it's my responsibility, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure because people are watching regarding this specific agenda item, and they want to make sure because they are confused what's.
Right. This only applies to the ones that are outside of the parkway.
Outside on the sidewalk. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just a quick one. Councilman Henderson had said something about seniors and being responsible for their trees. We in the city, for seniors that fall under a financial deficit where they don't make a whole lot of money, they can apply for the handyman program within the city, and if they meet the requirements, they could actually have somebody come out and take those trees down or cut them down, and that's under the handyman program.
I don't believe that we have used the handy worker program. By the way, that program is not funded so robustly that we could start doing tree trimming. That's not been their scope. So I don't want to give the impression to homeowners that the handy worker program will. Yes, but there are certain restrictions on that. I would suggest that if a senior has a question, to contact our General Services Department to have them take a look at it and assess the situation, assess their. Yeah, because the number of projects that the handy worker program does is fairly limited, and certainly trees are not part of that scope of services.
Okay, now I have a question. We all have questions. So let's just say on my property, my tree, the roots take up the sidewalk, and I have my tree fixed. Am I supposed to notify the city within a certain amount of time to fix the sidewalk, or am I required to fix the sidewalk now? Because that's, the city would do the sidewalk portion, if they need to fix it correct.
You are required to repair the sidewalk.
I'm sorry, say that again?
You will be required to repair the sidewalk as well as to cut the tree roots.
Okay, so I cut the tree roots. I have the city come out and fix the sidewalk, or is there a private company that now comes in to do it? Or
We can come out and repair the sidewalk and bill you.
And bill us, okay.
But you see, the city shares liability with you, so
Okay.
we're not going to leave the sidewalk the way it is.
Right,
We're going
right.
to go out there and repair it.
Okay, now, the other thing is, does a person have a certain amount of time that they need to do this? Let's just say I decide to go ahead and pull up the tree today because of the roots, it's messing up the sidewalk. Now, from the time that I have the work done, do I have a specified amount of time, like 90 days, to contact the city and say, okay, the sidewalk needs to be done. Of course, I have to pay for it, et cetera. Is there any timeframes on that?
We can notify you, and you have a certain amount of time to repair the situation.
Okay.
But, I mean, what this ordinance deals with is when somebody trips and falls there.
Right, right.
And if somebody trips and falls before the sidewalk is repaired, both the homeowner will be sued and the city will be sued.
Right, but I believe most people know what their front sidewalks look like. So, I mean, if your sidewalk is starting to raise up some, you kind of have an idea. So if a person wants to be proactive.
If that's happening, you should call the city.
And be prepared to pay these fees. The other question I have is, will there be a permit involved as well, too?
I want to clarify that because we don't want community members to go out there, start taking trees down, cutting down roots, and then replacing sidewalks without coming to the city and obtaining the proper permits and inspections.
Okay.
That does not help the problem.
Okay.
So if a resident has a tree that has roots and the sidewalk is lifted or is in disrepair, the city has to be engaged. We do have to go out there and look at the conditions, issue a permit, conduct an inspection so that the sidewalk meets standards. There are specifications for everything.
Okay.
In terms of width of the sidewalk, you know, the grade. I mean, there's a lot of different things.
Right,
So.
okay. No, that's what I just want to, so before a person decides to fix that tree in front of their house on their property, they need to contact the city first. Okay, I understand now. Any other questions? No? Go ahead. Councilmember Medina.
One of the suggestions I'd like to make is to, if we're going to put this on our website, for the sake of those people that like to see a picture as opposed to seeing the letters, just let people know the difference between a parkway and their own property. And for those of you listening out there, the city will go out if the sidewalk is more than 3 inches tall, wherever the space is. And what they do is they come by and they burr it down so it's smooth again. So if you have any problems, just call Public Works, and Mr. Cruz will be more than happy to go out there and burr it down. And it's for this, obviously for the safety of our public. A lot of seniors have problems walking over some of the sidewalks that are 2-3 inches above. So if we could put that in a picture form for the residents to know the difference between a parkway and their own land and the sidewalk, I think that would help immensely.
Just one last thing. We have this wonderful system called Gardena Direct.
That's right.
And we highly encourage our residents to use Gardena Direct to report that. They can take a picture of their tree, they can take a picture of their sidewalk, it'll go into our system, it'll be assigned to somebody, they'll follow up on it, they'll have a resolution, they'll have a complete trail, an audit of everything. So once again, Gardena Direct is a wonderful method for reporting these kinds of issues.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Comments?
You have a comment?
Very quick one.
Okay.
Regarding the Gardena Direct, we had a lot of rainy season. We had 2 potholes. Just for the record, Gardena, the streets are in 99%. It's a great shape. So there was a 2 pothole. Took a picture of the pothole, send it to the Gardena Direct through Gardena Direct. Next day morning, I was passing by. That pothole was asphalted already. So. Thank you very much, whoever get the message and did the job.
Okay, thank you. At this time, can I get a motion to adopt ordinance number 1801?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and seconded by myself. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Serta,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
and Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is item number 8G1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8G1 is the purchase of 18 40-foot compressed natural gas buses for the purchase price of $13,014,913 and authorize a program total not to exceed $13,665,658. This is one of the largest items that comes before the City Council, and Director Crespo was a little nervous to present on this, so he decided that he would have a baby, well, not he, but his wife have a baby so he could miss the council meeting. And we're going to have Dana Pinn do a presentation on this purchase. But with all seriousness, congratulations to Director Crespo on the birth of his new child.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, I'm kind of tall. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm very excited to be here before you tonight requesting authorization to purchase 18 compressed natural gas buses from El Dorado National. This purchase has been a long time in coming, and the whole G-Trans team is heavily invested in its success and introducing this proven technology to our transit agency. Our current fleet consists of 6 battery electric buses and 52 gasoline hybrid electric buses. The hybrids were purchased in 2005, 2009, and 2010, so they're fairly old with an average of about 10.6 years of our fleet age. So it's fairly old because 12 years is generally the useful life of a bus. And in their day, these gasoline hybrid electric buses were pretty cutting edge. G-Trans was really a pioneer in the state and certainly one in our region, operating one of the largest fleets of these vehicles. And while the hybrid technology has proven to be difficult to maintain and hasn't really operated as expected, our maintenance team has managed to learn and navigate some of those challenges to ensure the vehicles are ready for service every day. And this really bodes well for our team and the new CNG technology that's coming on board, that we will successfully be able to incorporate it into our fleet. And more recently, we purchased 6 electric buses, and G-Trans was also an early adopter of that zero-emission technology. And we're still working through some of the challenges of range and charging capacity. And as we look forward to continuing to incorporate additional zero-emission buses as part of our mixed fleet over the next 5 years, we will eventually transition to 100% zero-emission fleet. The bus purchase before you is really the first step in our 5-year replacement plan, which at the end will achieve an 80%, 20% mixed fleet, 80% compressed natural gas or CNG, and 20% electric buses. And as you may recall, the Gardena City Council approved this fleet replacement plan at its meeting in February 2017. The plan also authorized G-Trans to initiate plans for a CNG fueling facility and infrastructure and modifications to our maintenance facilities to accommodate this lighter than air fuel. The mixed fleet approach is really ideal for G-Trans in that our current fleet is either now ready or nearly ready to be replaced. We want to deploy a technology that is proven and able to withstand our operating environment and our span of service, like CNG. The state of electric buses is such that there are issues with range that make it really impossible to send out a bus in the morning and have it be able to continue in service without charging until the evening time when it comes back. We've seen this challenge with our own fleet of 6 electric buses. We believe that in the next few years there will be significant improvements to battery and range capacity. And larger transit operators across the state are really kind of taking one for the team, working out some of the kinks with those new buses like LA Metro, Antelope Valley Transit Authority, and others, just to name a few. They're testing it in a little more widespread use and hopefully get that ready for the rest of the smaller to medium-sized operators to incorporate into our fleets. We will still purchase a small number of electric buses or zero-emission buses to complement our CNG fleet and continue the testing and learning by our mechanics. In addition, the California Air Resources Board recently issued its Advanced Clean Transit Initiative that mandates that transit agencies must transition to zero-emission buses by 2040. Smaller transit agencies must begin purchasing zero-emission buses by 2026. And by that time, we'll be able to replace our aging buses with zero-emission technology that's fully ready and tested. And provided that we have our funding in place, our replacement schedule will have us transitioning to a zero-emission fleet, we hope, by 2034. So that's in advance of the 2040 deadline. These are just a few highlights of the purchase before you tonight. We were able to take advantage of a provision in FTA regulations that allows what's called piggybacking off of another contract. In this case, LA Metro recently bid out and awarded a contract to El Dorado National for their purchase of 295 buses plus 308 options. And the Metro Board assigned G-Trans options up to 46. And that essentially reserves them for us. It doesn't require that we use them, but it kind of holds them for us if we want to use them. And at this time, we just want to exercise 18. And we're able to leverage the volume discount that Metro obtained because it's such a large order. As you can see, the price is a little over $723,000, and that includes everything from spare parts, delivery, sales tax, training, etc. And we anticipate that the delivery will begin in January of 2020, and we'll get a few per month. We'll test them and then accept them, and then that'll all culminate in the end by about mid-2020, around June, we hope. And El Dorado National is a fairly local company out of Riverside. They have manufactured buses for many transit agencies throughout the country, as well as a number in California, including LA DOT and LA Metro. One of the things that we did differently, we felt it was really important to involve our staff in this bus purchase, being the first new bus order for G-Trans since 2010. While the buses are essentially the same configuration as the Metro Pilot bus, we felt it was important to ensure we had an opportunity for the team to participate in the selection of certain features of the bus, which they will either drive or maintain every day. And we created several committees that provided input on everything from driver mirrors and seats, passenger seats, head signs, etc. The team received presentations from interested vendors that came to our facility, and in some cases we were able to test certain equipment like driver seats. We also had an opportunity to travel out to Metro's Division 13 to look at their pilot bus as they were evaluating it for acceptance. And it was a really good opportunity to visually understand the features that would be installed on the buses and speak with Metro engineers to understand why they chose certain features and what things they had concerns about. It really informed our view. This is another picture of the Metro Pilot bus. Obviously, the livery would be different with our green and silver and the big G, but this is essentially what the design of the bus will look like. We also had an opportunity to bring a team of G-Trans operators and training staff to the plant in Riverside at El Dorado, where the Metro buses were on the line. It was really a great opportunity to view some of the features and to discuss some of the features with the El Dorado staff. You can see Ernie down there, the director, in the middle, and several of our other staff. It was a pretty good experience, and it's nice that it's so local. Our operators were also able to test one of the brands of driver's seat. And if you see one of our operators on the left is checking out, I think it's called a Recaro seat. It was a great educational experience, and we will be going back to the plant when our buses are on the line. We have to go there and do some inspections as they're being maintained to make sure that the specifications are being met. With every new bus purchase, transit agencies are able to have the latest and greatest technology available, including the cleanest engines, vehicle monitoring software, and energy-efficient equipment. We're moving from a 2-position bike rack to a 3-position bike rack. Roughly 2% of our customers get to the bus by bike, and so we're making sure that in this environment of mobility options, we want to have the maximum amount of opportunities for people to ride our bus. And so that's why that's something that's important to us. And also it's getting more common in the region as well. Each seat will also have 2 USB ports, which are really handy for people with smartphones or laptops and that have somewhat of a drive on the bus. We think that's a really nice positive amenity for our customers. And finally, another interesting feature is that our bus order is going to come with training aids. These are things that we don't have right now. Specifically, we'll have a complete running engine, a transmission assembly, a brake board, and an electrical training board. And so this is a really helpful training tool for all of our mechanics, refresher training for those that are new to that type of technology. In terms of funding, we've worked for several years to assemble the required funding. Much of the funding was awarded through several Metro Call for projects over the years and other regional grant opportunities. The local match for the funding will be provided from Prop 1B bond proceeds and also some Proposition C sales tax revenue that we have available to us. In terms of our fuel and emissions, these brand new buses will also bring about fuel savings and positive impacts to the environment for our region. And you can see here that we spend a little over $1 million annually on fuel costs. That includes both our gasoline and electricity, because we do have 6 electric buses. The fact that we operate hybrid buses and some electric buses do actually contribute positively to the region, as you can see by the tip of the big toe. And with the purchase of our 18 buses, we project a savings in fuel cost and a more significant reduction in carbon dioxide and NOx emissions per year. And this is really the equivalent of removing about 455 cars off of the road. So in conclusion, these are a few of our important takeaways. We know that bringing these new 18 buses online are going to be a positive impact to our community and to our customers and help meet our operational needs. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Did you have anything before we go to questions? Okay. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regards to, because I use the Silver Line every month to go to downtown, and I noticed that our buses, as well as Metro, have those straps that you hang on to, and sometimes they stick, and sometimes they don't. They'll just slide across. Is that something that can be tweaked so it doesn't slide across?
We can check that out. I can't say that I know off the top of my head, but that's something that we can absolutely look at.
Yeah, because that could be
Councilman,
embarrassing if someone's walking in front of you and all of a sudden, boom. What were you saying?
Go ahead.
There's a certain case that we're dealing with right now, which directly related to your comments.
Well, that's the premise of my saying that is for that very same
let's
reason.
just not discuss that part right now.
No, but the premise is that when I was on the Silver Line, I got up to move and it moved.
Okay, but
with me, so I bumped into someone. So
for now, let's not discuss that part.
No, I'm not addressing that. I'm addressing
your experience with it.
Yeah.
I know, but let's just stop it right there.
Anyway, look into that to make sure they don't slide.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to the fuel savings of $182,000, was that with all 18 or was that times 18?
That's collective.
Collectively?
18, yes.
Okay. Do we get any extra GHG credits or anything from CARB by doing this? Because we'll be ahead of their schedule.
You will get owners of CNG fueling facilities will get credits. If you own the facility and you dispense the CNG fuel, you will get the credits. We already get credits now for the 6 electric buses that we have, and so we will magnify that when we have our CNG fueling facility operational. And then as we get more the more CNG buses, the more CNG fuel we'll dispense, the more credits we'll have. So yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem?
Just a real quick one. I read through this thing, but I didn't see any contingency for what are we doing with the buses that we're replacing? What are we doing with those?
Oh, well, typically what you do is you send them to auction. At FTA, if you purchase buses with federal dollars, you must keep them for 12 years or 500,000 miles. And after that, you're able to do with them whatever you want. And so typically, we would either keep them in our contingency, that in the event of emergency, or if we had different types of service that we wanted to run, we'd be able to use those. Or we could send them to auction. One possibility that I know the city has done in the past was to donate some of the buses to our sister city, Watabampo. And so we're definitely open to that if they're interested in those buses. We would want to make sure we gave them the best ones. But that's another way to handle it. And if you do send them to auction, the proceeds end up needing to go back into your capital program.
Okay. And I apologize. I wasn't listening at one point when you asked the question, and maybe you asked this already. But when our old buses that have like the cameras on the outside and the inside there, do we take those old cameras and put them on the new ones, or do we purchase new cameras? How does that work?
Not with the cameras. We will be getting new cameras, but for example, the fare boxes that are on the old buses will get transferred. Trying to think of some of the other equipment. Most of the equipment is brand new.
Okay.
But when we donate or give to auction the buses, they pull that off and use those equipment pieces as spares for the existing
Oh,
fleet.
no, I meant from the current buses we have now versus the new ones we're purchasing, with the cameras and so on. Are we going to?
The cameras will be new.
Will be new?
With the,
Okay.
with the purchase, yes.
Got it, okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, then, if there are no other questions or comments, can I get a motion to approve the purchase?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to our council items, item number 981. Councilmember Henderson, would you mind giving your report from the ICA conference during your closing remarks?
Yeah, I was going to say that'd probably be best to do it towards the end, yeah.
Okay.
That way I can speak all at once.
And I'll do the same thing as well. Okay, let's move on to council directives here. Does any member of the council have any directives at this time? Councilmember Cascanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, I know we do have a, I don't know what they call it, speed sensor, or that, you know, it tells you how fast you're going on Marine Avenue, right by Crenshaw, between Crenshaw and Van Ness. I don't know if that it's calibrated right, because I drive lots on Marine Avenue, and sometimes I'm driving 35. I don't speed, but the cars, they go by me, and they are driving over 40 miles an hour. Sometimes I see it flashes, sometimes I don't. Most of the time, it's blank. So I don't know if that's supposed, on a certain range, supposed to blink or tell you your speed. I don't know if we can have somebody to look into it.
Councilman, we'll have somebody look into it. The system is using a radar. It's not 100% accurate. It's not for speed enforcement. It's educational. But we have had a couple of them where there's an internal battery that wears out. So the one on Van Ness, for example, near El Segundo has worn out a couple times. So they go out there and service it and replace it, and that tends to be the problem. So we'll have somebody look at it.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Councilmember Henderson and then Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's more of a question for my own edification. So as folks know, people are watching, and people are watching this on their phones and texting and watching this online. So I got a question while we were sitting here, and I didn't know the answer to, so I figured I'd ask right now. So bus stops that are in areas that are shared, like Harbor Gateway and everything like that, who's responsible for cleaning? Is it G-Trans, or is it MTA, or is it Torrance, or what do we do? Specifically the bus stops that are on PCH and Western.
The question to that is it depends, but I'm sure Dana can give me a more definitive answer. We do share several bus stops, and we do have a bus stop maintenance program.
And this is in real time, by the way, so this is great.
Good evening. Yes, I think what it is when we have certain transit facilities that are shared, like the Harbor Gateway Station, many of those bus stops are maintained by, say, Metro owning the station. We do have a program that does clean bus stops for G-Trans, so it does depend on the location where the bus stops are located and the owner of the facility.
So in the case where PCH and Western were multiple people, I can't remember which corner, I think it was the southeast corner, would that be because our number 2 stops there, and I think I've seen Metro stop there and everything. Do we just call, or just whoever gets there first to clean it up, or?
No, if we have a stop there, we will maintain those stops, and Metro would do the same and look at those as well. So in that case, because it's an on-street stop, we'll have people that would go out and try to maintain that stop.
So can we take a look at that stop? Thanks. That was in real time, public. We did that in real time. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilmember Medina, you had a question?
No, I had a comment with regards to the speed goodie. There have been times where it's been 2, 3 cars, or maybe 2 lanes going, and one car just whizzed by me and it had 47 miles an hour where my car was doing the legal speed. So that could be another conflict also if you have more than one car that the thing is taking a reading on. So be aware of that, that's all.
Okay, any other directives at this time? If not, we'll move on to the city manager follow-up to the directives.
Mayor, certain members of the City Council, included in your package is the State of the City flyer that is for your information, and I understand the mayor and the police chief will be promoting that event. This year we'll be doing one event rather than having 2, which I think will be much more informative for the community and have it at one event. The 2020 census, we started a complete count committee. It's being chaired by Stephanie Santine. It's going to require participation from all members of our city as well as community outreach. It's very, very important to get Gardena counted correctly. And we need to make an all-out effort, including participation by all of you, the elected officials, to get the word out about making sure that we're represented in the census. The proposed crosswalk study at 147th and Western, there's a memo in there about that. I just want to let this council know that we did receive information. On average, the minimum cost for a traffic study is about $5,000. So as we look towards doing those, we may do a dual step process. Council will direct staff to look into it. We'll do a preliminary search, give you a memo back saying, do you really want to do this? And then after that, then we'll do it forward. In this case, we're already moving forward with it, but I mean, we didn't realize the cost was so high. But that's a good process to put in moving forward. Also gives us an opportunity to research whether we have done that recently. The study has been done recently, so there's not a need for another one. The next one, there's a memo in there about the repavement of Gramercy Place between 169th and Artesia. There's being a lot of infrastructure being replaced by Golden State Water throughout our community. Right here by the City Hall, we all see that Denkers and has been torn up off of Gardena Boulevard, some other streets, and that repair has not been completed by any means. It's patched right now. At some point, they'll come back and make the roadway as whole as possible. Depending on when the roadway was surfaced, there are moratorium periods which either require them to do the whole thing over or different levels of repairs to at least try to make an attempt to put the roadway back in the same condition as they found it. Lastly, there's a hazardous waste roundup on March 23rd at Arthur Johnson Park. It's always very successful and a lot of people come out. So if you have those hazardous waste, it's the best way to get rid of them rather than putting them into our sewers, in our trash cans, et cetera. So please take advantage of that here locally.
What are the times of that?
Mayor, Serta Council members, it's Saturday, March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Arthur Johnson Park, and it's open to all residents, encouraging City of Gardena residents. No business waste is accepted, but for the most part, pretty much anything else that's hazardous. Obviously, they don't want any radioactive materials or ammunition, et cetera, but most of the other items they'll accept.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, we're going to move on to council remarks at this time. First up tonight is Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mine's really quick, and I apologize to Guardian Valley Alliance that I missed their program on Sunday. I was fortunate enough to attend Councilman Kaskanian's niece's wedding, and that was a really great event. That would be Sam Kaskanian's daughter, who is a member of the foundation. And thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to represent you at Burger Im. We did that on Saturday, and that was a really great event. So that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I get started, I want to thank Jessica Rando and JR for their support as our senior commissioners. She was a great senior commissioner and everything, and she served very well. I want to let her know that I appreciate her reports. Every time after a meeting, she would submit a written report, and if I didn't respond within a day, she'd call me, "Did you get my report?" So she was very diligent, and she took her job very seriously. So I want to thank her for her service as well. As Councilman or Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka stated, we were at Burger IM, and then we also were at the, I was at the Independent Cities Association Winter Seminar on Public Safety. ICA has 2 seminars, one in winter, one in summer. Winter focuses on public safety. We had a lot of highlights this year. We have a new board member to our board of directors, Mayor Pro Tem Lisette Flores from the city of Bell Gardens. One of my goals as president of ICA is to make sure that we have more diversity on our board in regards to women and people of color, and that's been happening, as well as adding different cities around the state of California. So we're stretching out to Orange County, Riverside County, Ventura County, and everything. This was a great ICA winter seminar because we wanted to recognize the work of those in Caltrans, as well as some of the public safety workers, Santa Barbara County Sheriff, Santa Barbara County Fire, City Fire, for their work that they did last year this time for the ICA seminar. As we all recall, there was the mudslides and everything, and 101 was closed near Montecito. So as the president-elect at that time, I had to make the decision on whether we continue the seminar or not. So they provided up-to-the-minute updates, and then they gave us a call that the 101 was clear, and we were able to have a seminar, I believe, giving people their recognition while they're still alive. So we dedicated this past seminar to them. I also want to thank Madam Mayor. She was present as well. I know she wants to give a report on that, on the sessions that we hold. One thing I want to challenge us to as a council and as a city, the city of Downey always wins every year by having a number of attendees, and that just bugs me as as the president. So at our summer seminar, hopefully we can get more folks from the city of Gardena. We'll be in Carlsbad this year, and it's going to be a good seminar. We're working on the programming now. There's always revelry and fun and networking with our colleagues around LA County, and I've invited other folks throughout the state to come participate. Madam Mayor, so ends my report, but again, thank you for attending ICA. That was great to see you there, to see our mayor there and everything, because you're close with fire. Close with fire. Okay. We did recognize Chief Osby as well. He was our keynote speaker at lunch, and Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I went to 7 different convalescent homes and delivered half sheets of cake to celebrate their birthday. Well, I've been doing that I just realized I've been doing that for 16 years. But it's fun. I enjoy delivering cakes, and people appreciate it, and they get a chance to talk to someone for a while they get their cakes. I also attended the Southern California Association of Governments, and they put out a really different report that most of the council members have, as well as our city manager. But they were talking about the plans for 2045, and so far, the life expectancy of most Southern California people is 78.6 years of age, for those of you who are concerned. Also, interesting facts that 51% of the California's foreign-born are originally from Latin America. And the other side of the coin is 58% of arrivals in Southern California are from Asian countries, for those of you who didn't know that. Also, we have more seniors in Southern California than any other state in the union. Also, we found out that most people walk more than they drive or take transportation. And ironically enough, the California median household income is 71,805, and across the country it's about 67,000. And it's interesting because for those of you who haven't had a chance to see our magazine that's given out by the city of Gardena, it's called Live, Work, and Play in Gardena. And I was reading some information compared to SCAG. SCAG is the Southern California Association of Governments. But if you get a chance to read this book, didn't know that the average annual sunshine is 321 days in Gardena, for those of you who are wondering. Maybe this rain is a little different, but yeah. And the median age for Gardenians is 39.1 years of age. And the median household income is $54,216. And over half the population in Gardena is over 40. So it's nice to know that we have a pulse on what we're doing in Gardena. 37.1 are Latino, 24.7 are Asian, 24.6 are black, and 9.5 are white, and 4 are other. So for a total population of 62,156. So if you get a chance to get the magazine, you'll learn a lot about the city that you live in, and it's interesting. For those of you who want to find out more interesting facts from SCAG, just log on to scag.ca.org. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Since the hour is getting late, I'm going to do my report very quickly here. Since the last council meeting, I attended the homeless count, and I'd just like to thank the departments that were in charge of that. I'd like to thank the residents who came out, the police officers, and all the staff members to help participate in the homeless count. I don't know if we received the numbers yet as far as how many homeless people we have. I think we did? We didn't? Oh, okay. We get a lot of paperwork here, so I didn't know if I'd overlooked it. But again, I'd just like to thank those who participated in that. I believe we had a good turnout, as well as just those who took the time to do the orientation for those who were participating in it, showing us the correct ways to go out and count people who are homeless, how to identify it, et cetera. So thank you for taking the time to do that as well. Also, since the last council meeting, I attended the West Basin Municipal Water District Director installation, where they installed 3 reoccurring members, which were Harold Williams, Gloria Gray, and Scott Houston. I also attended the funeral services for Mr. Andrew Aaron, who many of you guys know, who's come to the city council meeting on several occasions. And earlier this year, we honored him through our military veterans. He was known in our city for being, Buffalo Soldier, part of the 16th Cavalry, I believe, back when they were still on horses. So it was a very nice funeral services. I'd like to thank Chief Kang for being there as well with us at the funeral. Also, since the last council meeting, I attended the Gardena Valley Lions Club as they had their 37th community recognition banquet, where they honored husband and wife Carol and Richard Luna for their community service, as well as they celebrated their 95th anniversary, and that was held at El Pola Inca. I also attended the 5th annual South Bay Legislative Meet and Greet. We had the opportunity, when I say we, elected officials from our neighboring cities, were able to get like a legislative report from our congressional people, our state senators, and our assembly members as well. And because the hour is late, I won't go into detail of that. Later on that day, I attended the Jazz Festival Committee meeting. And we have a new committee as we're planning the 2019 Jazz Festival. And as of right now, just so you know, the Jazz Festival is scheduled for August the 26th, and the tickets go on sale May 6th for those of you guys who are preparing to buy a ticket. I also attended the Quarterly Finance Committee meeting, and then the same day I attended the Legislative meet and greet and the Jazz Festival meeting. I left later on that afternoon to attend the ICA conference with Councilmember Henderson. And it was a great conference that was in Santa Barbara. It was raining. And interesting enough, one of the things they were talking about was weather. And we got the full effect of it because there were they had Chief Osby, who is in charge of the LA County Fire Department. They were talking about the effects of the Woolsey fire and how it displaced people and how the roads were cut off. And now, moving forward several months later, it was raining really bad, and we experienced the roads being cut off because the 101 freeway stopped. We couldn't get on the 101 freeway if you wanted to go home early. The train stopped, and so every time they were announcing these things, I just felt a little bit of what the people in the Woolsey fire were dealing with, where you couldn't get through the roads and, it stopped. And I just can't even imagine what they went through. Of course, it was much worse, of course, losing your house. But just the idea of not being able to leave when you want to leave, or your car is stranded, it just put a real reality to that whole thing. So I don't know if I'm thankful that I experienced that, but at least I can say as an elected official, I kind of know how the elected officials felt in the Malibu areas and moving up, I think it was Paradise Cove, well, that's Malibu, but in the areas up there, how the elected officials, I'm sure they feel very helpless and not being able to help their residents, because we experienced that. But at the ICA conference, there were over 100 mayors and city council members, city managers, and city officials in attendance. My understanding, there were 42 cities that were represented, 21 speakers, 6 panels, and they discussed, as was mentioned, a lot of great information, whether it related to natural disasters. They talked about cannabis, also ways to alert people, like an alert system, which I think we'll be discussing in the next couple of months, as far as in the event of a natural disaster, how we can alert our residents as far as, stay in place, or was it stay place and shelter, or just what to do, or if you need to move very quickly. So with that, I also attended on this past Saturday a Black History Awards luncheon that was put on by the Southern California Black Chambers Association, where I received the Dignity Awards. They recognize African American mayors in the California area, and it was really nice. The only downfall was I had to drive all the way to Santa Barbara. I'm sorry, not Santa Barbara, San Bernardino, and it was 73 miles going one way, but other than that, I was very honored to receive that award. But that ends my report, and next is Councilmember Cascania.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I did attend the Finance Committee meeting, and I just want to rest assured to City of Gardena, we're doing great. Thank you, Mr. Osorio, to you and your team. And thank you, Mr. City Manager, for great presentation. The number looks good. Thank you. I attended the LA County City Selection Committee meeting in behalf of our mayor. I went over there, and after 1 hour waiting to form a quorum, 47 showed up. We needed 49 to be quorum. So an hour later, Torrance City Mayor came in, and he's the chairman, and he announced that no quorum, no meeting. Meeting has been canceled, but it was nice social, I talked to several city mayors and council members. And I would like to apologize to Gardena Valley Lions that I couldn't make their event. And congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Dunas for their rewards. And Mark, I'm sorry, I promised you that I will be there, ICA, but that Saturday was cats and dogs. It was raining like crazy. Exactly. So I'm sorry, but I relayed the message. I'm assuming you get the message that I'm not going to make it. And that's end my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the announcements are concerned, we mentioned it earlier, but just want to remind everybody about the afternoon in the park, which is scheduled for February 23rd, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and that's in honor of celebrating Black History Month. It will be at Raleigh Park at 132nd Street in Van Ness. For more information, you can call 310-217-9537. There'll be resource booths, retail booths, kids area, college fair, and the Instagram chefs, as well as the food trucks. Also, if you want to do any advanced planning, we have our 2020 Census Complete Count Committee. For those of you who would like to know more about that or be informative on the importance of making sure our groups are counted within our community, that's scheduled for Wednesday, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. right here in the council chambers. Also, again, if you want to plan ahead, we have our State of the City address, which is scheduled for March 21st, 2019 at 6 p.m. at the Nakaoka Center. And as was mentioned earlier, this year's State of the City address will be a combination of the State of the City as well as a police community forum. And it is free to the public. And then lastly, again, for advanced planning, we have our free household hazardous and electronic waste recycling roundup, which will be at Arthur Johnson Park on March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Arthur Johnson's Park is at 1200 West 170th Street. And let's see. So that concludes our announcements. Oh, and hopefully everyone has received their Live, Work, Play booklet because it gives a lot of great information as far as a lot of the upcoming events that are happening. And I'd just like to thank the staff for putting that together. It's a great compilation of information. It looks great. When you look at the outside of the cover, it's very inviting. You want to just open it up and read it. So you did a great job on designing that there, so thank you for that. So we're going to move on to our remembrances now. Tonight we're going to adjourn in memory of Mrs. Yuriko Lily Fukai, who was 89 years of age and a longtime Gardena resident and beloved widow of the Honorable Masani Mas Fukai, who served as the City of Gardena council member for 24 years from 1974 to 1998. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mrs. Christina Newell, who was 88 years old and the beloved grandmother of Christina Theobald, who was the administrative assistant in the Recreation and Human Services Department. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Miss Jessica Ruth Woodson, who was 37 years of age, and the beloved aunt of Taylor Rogers, a recreation leader in the Recreation and Human Services Department. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mr. Dexter Leon Jennings, who was 80 years old, a 46-year resident of Gardena, as well as my neighbor. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mrs. Gregoria Sanchez, who was 92 years of age, a beloved grandmother of Anaya Corte, who was a recreation leader in the Recreation and Human Services Department. So at this time, the Gardena City Council will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled City Council meeting, which will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, February 26, 2019. We are adjourned. I know, right? That's okay. You know what? Let me just grab one of each one, and then I know you guys put some of your own. Yeah, we've been getting these letters from them through sanitation. Wow. Yeah, because there's a whole big labor dispute going on. But I've been hearing from other cities.